How's it going, guys? CrackedRack here, and I am so pissed off right now I could take a shit into my hands and eat it. But it has nothing to do with Tinder. Tinder is the least of my problems right now, honestly. I have a far worse issue to deal with. But since I need to kill some time, I figured I'd make an old-school CrackedRack style rant about 5 reasons I fucking hate Tinder. Tinder is one of the worst social media applications I've ever used in my entire life. Now keep in mind, I haven't used Tinder in a fat minute. Fortunately enough for me, there is somebody in my life I kind of care about a little bit. So I don't need worthless waste of space like Tinder, and I haven't used it for probably about a year. However, upon using it a long time ago, I discovered, like I said, it's one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. So without further ado, here are 5 reasons Tinder sucks dick. And it sucks dick. Number 5. It is the worst example of a pay-to-win piece of software I've ever seen in my life. So when I first downloaded Tinder years and years ago, and I do mean years ago, I was like 16 years old, I wasn't even supposed to be on the app, I realized at the time I couldn't even use it because of all the features that were completely locked behind a paywall. Even doing something as simple as going back on an accidental swipe you didn't mean to make is something they charge you for. What the fuck? And it's not even a reasonable amount they charge you for. It's like $20 a month at minimum. Anyway, I re-downloaded the app last year when I was 20, and upon getting it and setting up my profile, it said my profile was only 97% complete and that you could only make it 100% complete if you pay. And the only way to get matches is if you make it 100% complete. So I was like, okay, how do I get it to 100% complete? Well, you have to fill in a few pieces of info about yourself, such as Spotify playlists. Oh my god. Blah. Anyway, the only way to get it to 100% complete is you have to put in like your Spotify playlists and all this other specific, unimportant shit. And the only way to do it is to have a subscription to Tinder Gold. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll get stupid fucking Tinder Gold. So I paid like, what, $35 and got Tinder Gold? But then Tinder was like, oh, actually, you need to get Tinder Black, or whatever it's called, to have the full experience of Tinder. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll get that weird shit. So I got it. There goes another $30. And it wasn't even in a down payment form. You have to pay it up front. So then I was like, okay, fine, this is where I'm at in life. So I'm scrolling through So I'm scrolling through Tinder, and all is okay for a little bit. And then, oh, okay, I can't super like anybody, which is the only way you have any chance of getting their attention, because it actually costs $10. $10 for a lot of super likes, you ask? Maybe like 20, 30? No! $10 for 3 super likes. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll buy 20 super likes. So at this point, like $300 are down the drain. Then I finally got a match with this extremely sexy Latina girl in her Then I finally get a match with this extremely attractive Latina girl in her 20s. Very, very attractive. I was shocked she even matched with me, and she messages me with a heart and a few paragraphs about how she actually knows my videos and enjoys them and would love to get a coffee with me. Cool. So I start talking to her. Then all of a sudden she disappears. What the fuck? But things were going great. Oh well, maybe she unmatched and she decided I was gross. Whatever. All of a sudden I get a DM on Instagram from the same girl stating she doesn't know why I unmatched her. But I didn't unmatch her. Turns out, Tinder's algorithm must have detected that I finally achieved some success in life and decided I couldn't have it for whatever reason, so it automatically unmatched me. Fuck this app. Number 4. It completely sets men up to fail for some reason. In the real world, nobody gives a shit what gender you are, how attractive you are, how much money you have, how tall you are. Nobody gives a fuck unless you're unbelievably extraordinary in any of these regards. On Tinder, these are literally the only things that matter. Personality? No one gives a shit. Jokes? Sense of humor? No one gives a shit. Good looks? Believe it or not, no one gives a shit. The only thing people give a fuck on Tinder about for a guy is how tall they are and how much money they make. Literally just like the classic incel fucking ideals. And I'm not even using an incel talking point here, because this isn't real life. This is just Tinder's algorithm for some reason. If you're a 6-foot person and you're standing in front of a Lamborghini, you'll attract everybody on Tinder, even other men. But if you're just an average 5'10" banker or something, you'll get nothing. In fact, you'll get less than nothing. You'll probably only match with prostitutes, transvestites, criminals, and extremely overweight women. I mean, which none of these are inherently that bad, but it's certainly insulting. One woman I matched with was a very popular OnlyFans model. Like, very popular, in the top 5% of OnlyFans models. Very attractive, very fit, also a porn star. Very interesting. But she was really eager to date me. And I was really sketched out by it because I was like, why does this extremely attractive woman want to date me so badly? Surely she could be dating the best of the best men on the planet. So I did a little background search on her. Turns out she was a sex offender. Not just of a minor, of a child under the age of 12. And that wasn't even all. Upon a deep investigation, she does fucking scat porn. Thanks, Tinder, you're really a standout dating application. Oh yeah, and she wasn't even being honest about her age. The app said she was 22, which puts her exactly in my age range, but she was actually nearly 30. Number 3. The women on there think you only care about sex. I don't care about sex that much, if even really at all. If I'm with somebody, then yes, I'll enjoy that as much as possible, but otherwise, it's the very last of my priorities. On Tinder, however, every single woman believes and fears that you're a rapist sex pest who does not see them as a human being, but as a sexual object you're desperately trying to get, even if they're not attractive at all. This is because of the way Tinder is set up, and it makes it extremely hard to do anything but have sex with these random women. It makes the whole app and experience vastly harder than it needs to be because every single woman on there assumes that every interaction you're trying to have is completely transactional, and you have to offer them something in return. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't even have anything else to say here. Number 2, there's children on the app. A lot of them. This is a serious issue Tinder needs to address immediately, because this is a strictly 18+ application that will allow literally anybody on the planet to utilize it and verify themselves with no proof they're an adult whatsoever. You don't need any ID, you don't need to look your age, you don't need to act your age, and if you're a girl, you don't even need to put in your credit card information. There's nothing you need to do other than exist as a child to use this app. And holy shit, it shows. There are so many people on this app who claim to be exactly 18 years old, and then you contact them and start talking to them, and in the middle of your conversation, they'll just go, oh, by the way, I'm 16. As if that's just perfectly fine and you'll be totally okay with that. There was one lady I was going to meet up with at Burger King who I was having calls on the phone with for days, who revealed to me that she was not actually 19 years old, like it says on her profile and like she said, but 15. I blocked her instantly. Tinder was literally setting me up to go on a To Catch a Predator sting-type operation to meet with a child at Burger King. When I reported the profile, they didn't even give a shit. They didn't remove it, they didn't ask about it, they didn't care at all. If the police had arrested me and saw this, they wouldn't be like, oh, this is just a Tinder mishap. Yeah, that's not what would happen at all. Number 1, blackmail. Unfortunately, in this life, if you don't happen to be an adult, you should know and be aware of the fact that if you open yourself up to people, even those you 1000% trust, you can and will be blackmailed. People are evil. Can't blame them, blame God. Well, on Tinder, I met this fat chick named Cammy, who offered me sexual favors in exchange for McDonald's. Now, I'm not one to turn down a fat lady. That's not very nice, and frankly pretty cruel. Fat people are just people like me and you. Keep in mind this is a very long time ago. I was like 18 and decided to have Tinder for a very short period when I was working as a security guard in Portland, Oregon. So I met Cammy, I bought her a very nice Big Mac meal, and she gave me multiple sexual favors in her dingy apartment in downtown Portland. Keep in mind, this was years ago. I would not just have casual, careless intercourse like this now. This was pretty gross, actually. But anyway, we had sex, it was all fine and dandy. However, I didn't know she took pictures of my junk. She was doing it secretly and making it look like she was browsing social media. Well, I go home, and I get a message on Tinder, and I'm like, oh cool, more sex favors in exchange for more fast food. I love this app. However, they were photos of my dick from a weird angle I had never seen it in before. And she, Cammy, was demanding $150 sent to her Cash App or she was going to leak them to my mother, who she apparently found on Facebook. Now, fortunately, I blocked her and didn't care because some random lady on Facebook was the target of this mother who she thought was me. Now, I do feel bad for that lady who got a POV shot of my penis being sucked by a fat lady while the David Bowie on my hand stared into the camera. But whatever, point is, this stuff happens a lot on Tinder, believe it or not. I've talked to a lot of dudes, and all of them who have used dating apps tell me that they've experienced some kind of scam, deception, or hardcore blackmail. Overall, Tinder is a horrible, horrible app for young men under the age of about 28. If you're like a 39-year-old man who has a great job and makes great money and has great cars and a great body and you're super humble, Tinder will be a great place for you. But if you're a young man, like me, who has little to average money, an average body, and average ego, you're gonna have a fucking horrible time. A time full of scams, predation, accidental pedophilia, and even attempted murder. You'll also be spending like $2,000 a year just to even have it. So overall, avoid Tinder like the plague. For young men, it's actually legitimately dangerous. Instead, if you're a young man like me, you're gonna have to just find very average women through your school campus or your job or in real life. Sorry, young guys, you can't get the cream of the crop yet unless you're a boss-ass motherfucker. Whether you look like King Cobra JFS or you look like Timothy Chalamet, you're gonna have a fucking awful time. See ya. Oh yeah, and one more thing, I do get asked a lot about Ask CrackedRack, and if I'm gonna bring it back, and I might. The reason I stopped it is because at first people were asking normal things like, how do I deal with an abusive family, how do I deal with this breakup, and it was funny and cute. But it escalated really badly to like, hey, CrackedRack, I'm actually gonna go kill 50 people at a supermarket? Do you have any advice for how to not do that? I am literally 100% confident that there was a recent shooter, like a recent mass shooter, who was a fan of my content. So I'm just like, fuck this, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm taking a break from music for a while, which, by the way, I'm not trying to be a serious rapper. I know there's a lot of, speculation that I'm going some Philip Solo TV route or some, Bart Baker route where I'm trying to be this hot, sexy singer, but that's not the case. I'm trying to make songs that are basically my comedic rants in song form. That's what I've always tried to do. But I'm going to take a break and just focus on rants for a while. The LolCow LP releases in a couple of days, so expect that. See ya.